How do you pick the right agent to help you purchase a home? Well, in this video, I'm gonna give you a full criteria list as well as questions to ask so that you can actually interview agents and have some sort of mindset behind it to make sure that you don't lose out on thousands of dollars, get screwed over on a deal, or just feel that you did not get serviced accordingly. So make sure you stick around to get all the details. See you on the other side. All right, guys, like I mentioned in this video, what we're gonna cover is how you can properly find a good agent to represent you when you are going to purchase a property. Real estate agents are literally, I hate to say this, a dime a dozen. You can just easily get screwed over if you get with any agent because the barrier to entry to become a real estate agent is very low, but to become a good agent and service their clients accordingly is very difficult. And there's ways that you can find out to make sure which type of agent you're working with. And that's what we're gonna cover today. Now, before we get into that, let me quickly introduce myself. My name is Patrick Longley. I'm a licensed real estate agent out here in Hawaii and have been for nearly a decade, helping buyers, sellers, and investors like yourself with their real estate needs. Now, if you had any questions or you'd like to interview me to be a real estate agent, which I'd highly suggest interviewing agents, I've got my contact information right here, or you can directly DM me on any of my social media platforms. With that being said, let's get into the process of how you can find yourself a good, solid, and amazing real estate agent to assist you with your buying process. Number one, availability. Now, what I mean by this is you want an agent who's going to actually pick up their phone. It might seem simple, but out here in Hawaii, everybody's super mellow, super cruisy, and I love that, but the reality of the situation is you don't want that in your real estate agent who's representing you in a $500,000, $1 million, $5 million deal. You want somebody who's gonna pick up the phone when you call them and answer your questions, because this is one of the largest investments of your life, and you want somebody who's actually going to represent you, communicate with you, educate you, and more importantly, pick up your phone when you call them. So it's really important to kind of test this, call the person that you're interested in talking to, see if they pick up, see if they get back to you within 30 minutes if they don't pick up. If they don't get back to you in a reasonable amount of time, which is generally like an hour or so, then that might not be the best match for you. You want to work with somebody who's actually going to pick up their phone and answer your questions. And if they're not doing it now before you're actually in a transaction, then they're definitely not going to do it when you actually are under contract. Number two, systems and processes. So it's really important that you work with an agent who has systems and processes in place. Now, what I mean by that is making sure that when you get under contract, do they have a process of communication? How often are they communicating with you? Do they have a transaction coordinator who's assisting with the paperwork? Are they educating you on the documents that you're going to be signing during a transaction? Do they have a process on doing a buyer consult to educate you on the home buying process before just showing you homes? These are all things that you want to understand and ask them. Say, hey, what systems or processes do you have in place to assist us during this home buying process that I should be aware of? So for example, for me, what I do is I have a very simple, straightforward process with all of my transactions. It starts with an initial call, and then once we actually feel each other out, and if I like them and they like me, then we would lead into a buyer consult where I actually educate my clients on the home buying process, tips and tricks on how to get your offer accepted, as well as what's going on in the market. I then basically put together a search for them based on the criteria that they gave me. We start looking at homes. I analyze those homes on their behalf and make sure that it's a good property for them for the price. And I have a transaction coordinator that helps with all of the paperwork. Additionally, I have documentation and videos that go over every single document that you're going to sign so that you understand what you're signing. These are just a shimmer of the processes that I have in place and the systems I have in place for my clients to ensure a very smooth process. But if you're talking to an agent and they just kind of go blank or say, yeah, I just show you homes, kind of a red flag that you want to work with somebody, because a real estate transaction is not easy. There's a lot of issues that can come up. Lots of fires need to be put out. And our job essentially is to guide you through that process instead of drag you through it. So you want somebody who already has a system or a process in place that they can effectively communicate to you right up front. Number three, are they actively doing business? Now, this might be a surprise to you, but the average realtor does 1.5 deals a year. Now, I don't know what a half deal is, but that's the statistic nationwide. There's a lot of agents out there. Once again, like I mentioned before, the barrier to entry to become a real estate agent is really easy, but being a good agent and being steady with business and helping people is very difficult. So it's really good to make sure that you're working with somebody who's somewhat in the middle. And what I mean by that is you don't want to work with somebody who's so busy that they don't pick up your phone call, like we mentioned in the first thing, that is not available, who can't answer questions for you. And you don't want somebody who's not busy at all, who's maybe doing one transaction a year, who doesn't understand the process, doesn't understand how to negotiate, doesn't understand how to analyze a property and make sure that you get a good deal. The best is to find somebody right in the middle. They're available, they're easy to get a hold of, they understand the real estate market, they understand the process, they understand how to analyze a property, and they understand how to negotiate and look out in your behalf. So that's just something to look out for. You don't want somebody who's only doing 1 transaction a year. You don't want somebody who's doing 100 transactions a year. You want someone who's kind of in the middle, doing a fair amount of business every single month, but not so busy that they can't pick up your phone, and make sure that they give you the attention that you deserve. Number 4, you want a real estate agent that is analytical. Okay, so you are about to purchase one of the largest assets of your life. Feelings, emotions are great, and that's what the buyer's job is. That's what I always tell them. It's your job to fall in love with the property, and it's my job to analyze and consult you accordingly on whether that's a sound investment, because that's exactly what it is. It's an investment. So you don't want to just hire somebody that you like. You want to hire somebody who actually understands the market, understands how to analyze a property, figure out what the proper valuation is. Is that property listed too high? Should you be putting in an offer lower? Should you be putting an offer in that's higher to make sure that it gets accepted, but it's not overpaying too much? These are all things that come into factor when you're investing. Is you want somebody to guide you, not only to feel good and say that it's a great neighborhood, but also to make sure that you're paying the right price for that property to set you up for success so you can build equity in it. So that is just something that I do specifically for my clients. Whenever they're interested in a property, they say, hey, we want to put in an offer. I don't say, hey, what do you want to put an offer in at? I say, let me do an analysis on it. I make a full video going over my analysis, showing them the range of what fair appraised value would be. I also receive intel from the listing agent to get a better understanding of how competitive it is. And then we come up with a game plan of what is a good price to put the offer in to not only get it accepted, but make sure we don't overpay for it. So again, have an agent who's somewhat analytical so they can analyze the property, because this is an investment for you. You don't want just someone that makes you feel good. You want somebody who's actually going to look out in your best interest when it comes to your money. Number 5, work with a specialist, not a generalist. So when you are interviewing your buyer's agent, you want to make sure that you ask them, hey, is there any type of business that you find yourself doing more of? Or do you find yourself being a specialist in certain types of buying transactions? Because that's really important. You never want to have somebody who's, for example, if you're renovating your home, you don't want to have a handyman who does everything. You would generally, if you want to have really good quality work, have somebody who specializes in flooring, in drywall, in paint, in framing. It's better to have a specialist if you want to have the best quality work and the best quality service, specifically when you're purchasing a home. So for example, I specialize first-time home buyers, VA buyers, and investors. That's essentially my hyper focus, is helping investors analyze properties. VA buyers understand the process of leveraging that VA loan to build wealth and to build a portfolio. And of course, with first-time home buyers, educating them and being patient with walking them through the process, because I really have the mindset of a teacher and really like to create a foundation of education for my clients. So that's where I find myself being a specialist in. So make sure you find yourself someone who's a specialist, not a generalist. Number 6 is look on review sites. So don't just go with the first person that your friend suggests. Look that person up. Google them. Are they coming up? Are they coming up on any review websites, whether that's Google My Business, Yelp, Zillow reviews? Or if they're not, just put in their name and see if you can find them, and see, not only, let's say you go on Zillow and see their reviews, you want to read not only how many stars or how many reviews they have, but what are people saying about them? You'll see that there's usually a common theme. Oh, this person was great with communication. They made the process super simple. They really understand the VA process. Whatever it is, you want to look a little bit deeper into them and not just go with somebody because it's the first person you talked to or the first person you saw on a Google or Yelp review. Look into the comments and see what's being said, and also, of course, see how many reviews do they have. These are all things that are really important, and a quick and easy way for you to see what are other people saying about this agent that I may be hiring. Number 7, how do I even find this agent? Well, there's a couple easy ways to do it. Number 1, referral. You got any friends or family that have purchased a property in that area, in that state, in that county? Ask them who they use, and more importantly, ask them, how was the process? Did you feel that it was smooth? Was there any issues? Was there anything you would have hoped they did better? Anything that you really liked that they did? That's always a great resource. Number 2, ask your lender. If you're already pre-approved or talking to a lender, ask them, hey, do you have any real estate agents that you really like to work with that you think are stellar? I would love to interview them. Number 3, like we discussed before, check review websites. In that specific area, look on Google Business, look on Yelp, look on Zillow, which is another good resource because you can actually see the transactions that they're doing, where they're doing the transactions, what price points they work in, and also the comments that are being said. I'm a big fan of checking Zillow reviews, but that's probably because that's where most of my reviews have been located. But by all means, that's a great resource, is look at review sites. And lastly, you can always check on YouTube. YouTube is a great resource, not only for you to see if that agent actually knows what they're talking about. If they're already educating the world about purchasing a home in that specific area, you already know that they somewhat know their stuff because you watch all their videos and you don't have to bother wasting your time actually interviewing them because they have a lot of of information right then and there. So I'm a big fan, not only just for me, other agents out there that are doing YouTube videos, because they are actually providing their value, educating you and giving you some sort of information that you may be looking for, may not actually know, and they're proving that they actually know their stuff. So that's also a good resource, but always interview them. And one of the most important steps that I would say is what I've been saying over and over again: interview those buyer's agents. They're not built equal. So what I want to go over now is some of those questions that you should ask during that interview process. Number one, what areas do you serve? Do you serve the west side, the east side, South Shore, everywhere on the island? You want to ask them what specific areas that they service. Now for Oahu, I would say that it's not out of the ordinary that everybody says, hey, I service everywhere, but you can see if you want somebody who specializes in a specific area. Once again, you can go to Zillow reviews, look at their account and see where all their transactions are, and you'll see a lot of blurbs in the specific areas. So if you're interested in Kapolei, you can see, hey, are they doing a lot of transactions over there? So they may just tell you, as I tell my clients, I service everywhere, but I find a lot of my transactions are generally on the windward side, Mililani, Ewa, Kapolei, Makakilo. Sometimes I do a little bit of the North Shore, but and also Honolulu town. So it's pretty much the entire island, but there's specific areas I would say I definitely specialize in, and that would be those areas. Number two, once again, what do you specialize in? VA loans, first-time home buyers, investors. Ask that agent what they specialize in. Number three, how many transactions are you doing a month or a year on average? This is, once again, just put them on the spot. Ask them. If they're saying they're only doing 1 or 2 transactions a year, that's a little bit of a red flag. If they're saying they're doing 100 transactions a year, 50 transactions a year, if they say they're doing 100 or 150 transactions a year, also maybe a red flag because they might be too busy for you, but again, feel it out. And if they're somewhere in that middle, that is a great place to be, because that kind of fits that Goldilocks, not too hot, not too warm. They have enough time for me and they know the process. Number four, are you a solo agent or are you on a team? Now, this can get into a lot of different politics. I love teams. I'm not on a team. I'm slowly building one as I get busier. But sometimes if you're with those big mega teams, sometimes you don't get all the attention you want, and you might be talking to somebody who you really like, but then they funnel you off to one of their, let's say, lower team members, and you don't get the attention or the detail of what you thought you were being sold, which is you thought you were going to work with that person, but you just got passed off to somebody else. So just make sure you ask, if I work with you and you're on a team, am I working with you or am I working with somebody else? Or ask them, are you a solo agent? If they're a solo agent, that means that they basically are the only agent. They're going to be giving you all of their attention, their time, and they may have a small support team like a transaction coordinator, maybe a showing agent, but it's just really important to understand, are you a solo or are you on a team? And if they're on a team, understand, am I going to be working with you? Or am I going to be working with somebody else? Number five, what do you see happening in the market? It's really good to ask real estate agents what they see happening in the market. Most of the time they'll be like, yeah, it's a great time to buy, it's a great time to sell. But once again, being an analytical person, it's good to ask that question and see what their response is. How do they back up their statement of saying whether it's a good time to buy or a good time to sell? Are they giving you actually data? Are they telling you what's happening from a macro or microeconomical standpoint? What do they see actually happening in the market? What's the average days on market? What's the median sales price for a condo or single family home? So if they're coming to you with this information like that, that'll tell you that they're pretty sharp and that they understand what's going on in the market. And of course, you can always double check it by Googling it. Number six, ask them, how are you getting offers accepted in any creative manner? Now, there's lots of different ways that I get my offers accepted. I have a pretty good high success rate in getting my offers accepted because I generally don't put in an offer unless I think it's truly going to get accepted, and that's because I coach my clients and I analyze accordingly. But I also have a lot of creative tactics on how I get my offers accepted. So you can call me. I'm not going to put it on the web on how I get my offers accepted, but if you want to reach out to me and ask me how I do it, I'd be happy to assist. Or if you're interviewing another agent, ask them, see what other tactics they have. Ask them, how often do you think we'll be chatting? This is good to understand because you want to know, depending on what timeline you are in, if you're looking at homes now, if you're going to be actually shopping for homes in 3 months, 6 months, or a year, it's good to have set expectations on whether that agent's going to be calling you once a month, once a week, every other day, and see if they actually fulfill that. If they say, hey, I'm going to call you once a week, you want to see if they're actually going to fulfill that and if that's what you actually want. So it's always good to set expectations and see if those expectations are met, because sometimes agents are lazy, they don't pick up their phone or they don't want to make phone calls. So for example, for me, when I have my clients and we actually get under contract, I tell them that, hey, every Monday you're going to get a call from me, giving you an update. I call it my Monday updates, giving them a heads up on what's going on in their transaction, items that are pending, need to get done, or already completed. And then they also get another email from my assistant every Friday, giving them an update on the timeline. And of course, they can always call me anytime between 8 a.m. and 8 p.m. So those are the expectations I set with my client. All right, guys, well, that pretty much wraps it up. I hope this was helpful. If you do want to interview me as your buyer's agent, I'd be happy to assist. I've got my contact information right here, or you can directly DM me on any of my social media media platforms. If you got any value out of this video, do me a huge favor, smash that like button as well as click the subscribe and notification bell so you get notified whenever I drop videos just like this. Again, I'm Patrick with PatrickLongleyRealty.com, powered by eXp Realty. Hope you have a beautiful day. I'll talk to you soon.